Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will talk to you today about Alligator Energy's Samphire Uranium project, our in-situ recovery project near Whyalla in South Australia, and also our Big Lake uranium discovery. I will be making some forward-looking statements, so there is a disclaimer. Just the region where I'm going to talk about today, the map on the left-hand side shows the key uranium deposits in South Australia. The Blackbush, Plumbush deposits are our Samphire project, south of Whyalla, just south. The Gould's Dam Honeymoon projects belong to Boss Energy, which are now under restart and ramp up. The 4 Mile, Beverley North and Beverley projects are owned and operated by Heathgate Resources and are ISR uranium projects that have been running for 25 years in South Australia. And our Big Lake project, which I'll talk about later, is right up in the Cooper Basin, overlying the hydrocarbon tenements there. On the right, the town of Whyalla you can see, and our 2 deposits, Blackbush and Plumbush. Well, Plumbush is a prospect. It's currently not JORC under 2012 resource. Our Samphire project has got some excellent attributes. We already have a resource of a size for a starter project of 1.2 million pound per annum for 12 years. We're 20 kilometres from Whyalla, so we have wonderful infrastructure access there. We don't need to build an airstrip. We don't need fly in, fly out. We don't need a long power lines. We have a 25 kilometre power line, 25 kilometre small water line. We have an exploration target range. I'll show you where our known paleochannels are shortly. And we have a target range of 14 to 75 million pound on top of our resource, and that's only on about 50% of the known channels. Our scoping study we did in December 23 shows a very positive return and quite a cheap capital, as is normal with ISR projects. We have a fully prefabricated pilot plant at our yard in Whyalla, awaiting the approval of our retention lease and our ability to do a field trial in the first half of next year. And we do a massive amount of work on stakeholder engagement with our pastoral owners, with the Bungalow Indigenous group in the area where we are, and with the community, wide-ranging in the community. In-situ recovery, for those who don't know it, consists of drilling either a ring or an order of holes or a line of holes opposing each other, where you circulate the groundwater. The groundwater is the medium of mining. You dissolve using lixiviants the solidified uranium in the compacted sands underneath in the horizon you're focused on. You dissolve it, bring it up into a plant, and you use ion exchange, in our case, to attract those uranium ions onto a resin bead and then clean it off into a clean eluate solution. Now, this method of mining has been utilised in Eastern Asia, in Kazakhstan for many years, in Wyoming for many years, and in Texas for many years. And in Australia now for more than 25 years. So it's a well-proven method where we have groundwater which is highly saline, totally disconnected from the Gulf waters well above it, and we have to manage that salinity as part of the process. The top line is the metrics from our scoping study at $75 a pound. The long-term price is currently 80, but very, very good economics for a small project. 1.2 million pound per annum really is a starter type project for a typical ISR mine. Peninsula's project in Wyoming started about that size. Energy in Wyoming started around that size. Beverley started at 1.2 million pound back in 98 to 2000. It is a size where you can easily construct as a relatively small to medium company and make good cash flow, and then follow that cash flow into expanding your resource base. Beverley started at 1.2 million pound, is now running over 4 million pound per annum. The Blackbush deposit, which we've been drilling out in detail the last 2 years. We have a very high percentage of indicated resource, more than 75%, and an inferred envelope. At 17.5 million pound, we're drilling all year on that project this year. We'll be doing an updated resource in January to lift some of the pounds there. And what we're targeting is whether we can reach a 1.5 million pound per annum rate for our feasibility plan for next year. But we've found extensions to the south and the west, a little to the north, and some high-grade hits to the east, but haven't pulled them together into solid roll fronts as of yet. But we have an extremely large area to look at. That concentration of pink drill holes you can see to the top of this area of paleochannels is the Blackbush deposit. It's less than 10% of the area of the known channels. The series of channels are delineated by ground gravity, which works extremely well where we are because we have the underlying granites of high density and the paleochannels are incised into that granite and filled with sands, which means the contrast lets ground gravity work very effectively. So we can identify the channels very, very well. And as you can see from the last diagram I went to, where the drill holes and the resource is effectively in those channels. So we've got 14 to 75 million pound as a target range in the top half of those channels, but we've only looked at those mineralised channels that have intersections. There's a lot of channel that has not been drilled yet. So at least 50% of the top part has not been drilled. And in the bottom part, that red box, we only did the ground gravity there early this year, and we discovered a lot more channels which have some historical intersections in them. So we'll be reviewing that exploration target range. Just above that red box is another concentration of pink holes. That's our secondary deposit, Plumbush. It's not a resource as yet, but we're negotiating access to get there to bring it into resource category. Our next step is a field recovery trial of 3 rings of holes to circulate the groundwaters, extract the uranium with lixiviants, put the fluids through a pilot plant and test the reagent usage, the power usage, the management of salt through an RO plant, and bring all the operating parameters forward to a feasibility study stage. We've done lots of bench scale testing with full cores of material, with full groundwaters. We know the basic parameters which we use in the scoping study, but we've got to prove them in a solid economic commercial sense. And to do that, you use a field recovery trial and a pilot plant. We fabricated the pilot plant, delivered it to site in July. It's in our yard in Whyalla, awaiting the finalisation of our retention lease and our operating plan to construct. We're fully funded for this. Our cash position at end of June was 28.5 million. Our quarterly's out this week, and we'll show that we still have a very strong cash position to take both our resource work and our field trial well into next year. Now, we also have exploration up at the Cooper Basin, as I said, and in Arnhem Land. We made a new discovery of uranium in the Cooper Basin, in the Big Lake Uranium Project. This is in the sediments that sit above the basin structures itself. So the same sediments that host the Beverley Honeymoon deposits, the Namba, the Air and the Cretaceous rocks, continue north 400 kilometres right over the top of the hydrocarbon basin. Now, the reason we looked here and we bought this project off, or the main tenement in the centre, off 2 geologists, was they went along the lines that the largest in situ recovery uranium fields in the world are all associated with hydrocarbon basins. The simple reason is it's the leakage of gas or hydrocarbon that is an excellent reducing agent to bring uranium out of fluids and into a solid form around sand grains. So Kazakhstan is an oil and gas basin, and it's the biggest uranium production area of ISR in the world. Wyoming is a gas and coal basin. It's a very large area of contained ISR uranium. Texas is an ISR uranium field, again, oil and gas. So this is the first drilling that's found up to 30 metres thickness of paleochannel sands hosting low-grade uranium at this stage here, but it's our first drilling program. So to hit these thicknesses of 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 metres of mineralised sands in our first program is fantastic. Now, we've got a lot of area to explore. If you look again, these are the tenements we have so far. We actually have our team up on site at the moment doing a further cultural heritage clearance to widen out our drilling footprint and look at 6 or 7 new targets in this tenement as well. And we'll be working hard to get up there by February, March next year. So not only do we do all the operational work, all the feasibility technical work, but we do a massive amount of stakeholder engagement. This is our bread and butter. Within our team, we've gone through 6 uranium mine approvals through Australia. We've engaged with a large range of Indigenous populations, both in Arnhem Land and South Australia. We've had well over 40 Indigenous employees in our company. But we know that you can't drop the ball in this area. We are around regional centres in South Australia. While there's a familiarity in the public in South Australia with uranium, there's a great familiarity in the regulator with uranium. You don't take anything for granted. You've got to make sure you do your ESG right. So with that, I'll leave it. Thank you for your attention.